Okay, it says you are live, so that's great. Welcome, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Lone Star. Lone Star. You can tell where I've been today. Welcome to Cold War Prepper. Oh my gosh! Today, for those of you who don't know, I work with spend a lot of time working with the homeless and people who have financial problems and food issues and not able to take care of their family and everything else. And so Lone Star Circle of Care is one of the providers that we refer people to. And I spent some time working with them today. This week, believe it or not, and please, if you can spare something, contact your local Salvation Army. Today is the 70th, this week is the 70th anniversary of President Dwight Eisenhower, declaring that Salvation Army Week begins the Monday after Mother's Day. So we are in Salvation Army Week. And so that's another one of those outstanding organizations that just takes really good care of people in need. And I spent time today with Scott, who is the local commander of the Salvation Army here in Williamson County, and helping them with their pantry and everything else. And he and his wife and their office manager Rhonda, and I mean, just great group of people. And I strongly encourage, if you can help out your local Salvation Army, it would be greatly appreciated. The problem is that the economy right now sucks. And so our donations with St. Vincent de Paul, we are 100% dependent upon our parishioners to give us donations. Well, as people are losing their jobs, of course, we have less money coming in. And then that also means with people losing their jobs that we have more people who need our services. And as we have people who need our services, the money that we do have available to us doesn't go quite as far as it used to. So, I mean, we've got what you might call the perfect storm. Not enough money, too many people needing it, and the money not going far enough. So anything you can do to help us, whether it be through St. Vincent de Paul or through Salvation Army, would be greatly, greatly appreciated. One of the things I promised Scott today, for those of you who have known me for quite some time, any money I make on this channel, 33% goes to the local, the city, the county seat, Georgetown. It goes to their food bank, a place called the Caring Place. 33% goes to St. Vincent de Paul, and then the other 33% goes to purchase items that I can give to you for your loyalty in subscribing or in purchasing things to improve the overall quality of our videos. But I told Scott today I was going to amend that, so I need to announce that, and I'm going to change it in the details. But it's going to be 25% to the Caring Place, 25% to St. Vincent de Paul, 25% to Salvation Army, and then 25% to you as gifts back to reward you for your outstanding participation and cooperation and being here on a regular basis and putting up with me, to be quite frank. So thank you so much for that. But just understand, I'm going to redistribute how that money goes. And we're going to end up giving 75% of our money away now instead of 66%. But you know what? It goes to a great cause. And I think that's going to be really, really great. So thank you so much because remember, when you watch these videos, especially when you come back, if after we get done tonight, you get ready to go to bed, just put this on replay so that, it counts for time watched. And that helps us give more money to these organizations who are helping people who are less privileged than we are and don't have the same advantages in life that we have. So thank you so much for helping with that. So tonight we're beginning something exciting, a new book, How to Survive the End of the World as We Know It, Tactics, Techniques, and Technologies for Uncertain Times. So basically, James Wesley Rawles, he's an ex-MI officer, by the way, so one of my brethren, he originated the term Teotwaki. So that's Teotwawki, Teotwaki. And that means the end of the world as we know it. Okay. And so he's kind of the originator of that term. I also want to point out, let me see if I have it here. I thought I had it here. I don't. What did I do with it? Oh, here it is right in front of me because I was reading it. Don't forget, the last Thursday of this month, we are reading 299 Days to Preparation. This is book one in the series of the 299 Days. This is, I noticed down below, I was chatting with Jack Spurko today because he has a video he put out today about composting with worms. And it's 2 hours and I watched it twice. What a great video. So I strongly recommend that you watch that. But I was commenting to him that I saw this, that he's basically endorsing. He says, heck yeah, I'm endorsing it. He says, as a matter of fact, if you haven't gotten there to it yet, and I haven't gotten to it yet, he says, I'm mentioned in the book because this guy is a subscriber to Jack Spurko's channel. So that's going to be kind of neat as we get into that as well. So let's start with this one because, man, this is, I tell you, so let me look at that. That's when I finished reading it the first time, 8/18/2013. So unlike other people, I write the dates that I finish reading a book instead of the day I purchase it. So let's get into this and see what we have. And I want to start with the introduction because there are a couple of good things in the introduction. And one of them is that we live in an extremely fragile economy and we live in an extremely fragile society. One of the things in my HR and quality arena was, teaching Kanban and just-in-time inventory, and I mean all these quality things that basically reduce inventory, improve overall process, and improve profitability. So, for example, I was the quality director for Metric 12 for Dell Computer Corporation. So, and they had a big 4-page layout in the Austin American-Statesman about this. This was back probably 1998, maybe. But it was a large facility. We built we built the what were they called? The desktops. We built the desktop computers there, and but the parts came in 54-foot trailers on the north side of Metric 12, and we had like 32 bays of different providers. And so when we received your order, it would go into a computer process. Then we would go pull that part off of their 54-foot trailer. So that wasn't our property until we scanned it in from their trailer into the factory. Then we would put it into the computer. It took us 24 hours to put that computer through the entire process to include downloading software. We would ship it. We didn't pay them for the parts for 30 days. So, and you had already paid before we even built your computer for the computer. So, I mean, it had an almost infinite return on investment as far as, profitability for Dell back in the late 90s. And it was just something, what happens when the computer system goes down, and that's what we're looking at. If we have any kind of a grid down scenario where computers aren't there, all the stores nowadays, they don't have back rooms anymore. They have basically a breakdown room. So almost as soon as anything arrives off of a truck, off of a trailer in the back room, it is scanned into the facility and then almost immediately taken out and put on the shelves. They don't have anything in storage anymore. So that's why they say that there's probably only about a 3-day supply of anything inside the store. And that's if you don't have a panic run. Okay. So that's what he's talking about with this extremely fragile economy and extremely fragile society. So we have extremely long chains of supply. And so we may have to order something. For example, we'll have a limit and we'll say when we get down to 15 of this item, we're going to order a case because we know that typically those 15 will last us for 14 hours and it takes 14 hours for our order to get through and then for that truck to arrive with the new product. So everything is computerized, okay? And everything's calculated down to the second basically when it's going to come in. Those long supply chains, okay, and just-in-time inventory are subject to extreme breakdowns. And so that could be a major problem for us as we move forward. The New World and You on page XII, page 12, Roman numeral 12, you need to be able to provide water, food, heating, and lighting for your family. Ditto for law enforcement, since odds are that a pandemic will be yo-yo, which is you're on your own time. So don't count on having law enforcement, fire, medical, ambulance, or anything else in a grid down scenario. You're going to be on your own. And so make provisions accordingly. And that's kind of the philosophy that we're going to see Mr. Rawles do here in his book, is that we are kind of going to be on our own. So don't count on other people to assist us as things happen. Okay, so let's get into chapter 1, the survival mindset for living in uncertain times. And so now that we're done with the introduction, let me go through the chat and see where we are, because I know you all have some very important things to say, and I don't want to miss them. So let me get up here. Gosh, and it's going to take forever to go through the chat. Hello, Prepper for the Ages. Welcome. Good to see you. Blue Tools. Gil, of course, welcome. Thank you for the referral, sending everybody over here from your live. So on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock, we want you to go to Gil and watch him on his channel. And Gil, would you do me a favor? Is that your preparedness channel, or is that your homestead channel that's immediately before this? I get a notice, and so that's how I get to it. But if you would put in here basic, well, why don't you just put in your schedule? Because I know you do an awful lot throughout the week. You have midnight runs and everything else, and 2 different channels, but he does almost something every night. So if you kind of put in a summary of what you have available for people, Gil, I would greatly appreciate that. Let me see here. So I'm still in everybody saying hello to each other. And Sumi says, I have slept in the backseat of my car in truck stop gas stations. No problem. There are always others around me doing the same. Yes. And as long as you can sleep in the light, the best thing to do is park in the light so that people can see anything spurious going on that may not be the best thing to happen. Hello, KP Heathen. Welcome. There's also, if you can, they have tire thumpers. Okay. And if you take a look, especially when you go to a truck stop, they're going to have these. They're probably 18-inch solid maple batons. They look like a bat. And what happens is that the truck drivers use those to thump on all their tires to check the tire pressure. And it's fairly short. I guess I could go get one of mine and show it to you. It's a great self-defense tool to have inside your car if you are forced to sleep in your car in a truck stop. Those tire thumpers are great. They're small, so that means that they're maneuverable inside of a vehicle. You can thrust with it. You can swing with it. It's a great little tool. Plus the fact that it's made out of very hard wood, or in some cases metal. It's also not going to be very easy to break. So, that's going to be great as well. Let me see. Some local Salvation Army people went to Minden, Iowa to help locals there after a tornado that shredded nearly half that little town earlier this month. Yes, I tell you, I did not know it. I had a real good talk with them today, but I did not know it. But basically, they are loosely affiliated with the Methodist Church, and I did not know that. So that was interesting to find out today as well. Because part of our family here is Methodist. So Holly Ivan says that her husband's job is back to paying weekly, so she's thinking to appease the workers who have been working there for years. Absolutely. Take good care of those workers. It's a text message from Maggie, and she's giving me some information, Holly, that if you're down in South Central Florida and need a place, a safe place to park, that she has a place that you can use if that's necessary. So let me see here. Theoxerus has joined us. Great to see you, my friend. And he keeps me straight. Pay attention to him. If I make a boo-boo, he catches it and he'll help correct me. So that's great. Same thing with Utah Mike. He's another good one there to have. Gosh, I have such great people. Thank you. Devil Dog Prepper, good evening. Welcome. Great to see you. Keelan Strain. Yes. And the other one was during the lockdown. My gosh, things went through the out the door like you would not believe. There was a period there. I'm going to say the first 9 months, I had to buy hospital grade hand sanitizer and basically mix it myself. I had 30 gallons that I bought, and it cost me almost $1,000. But I had the only hand sanitizer in town. Nobody else could get hand sanitizer at all. So, certain things, once there is a run, the run is it. And if you don't have it now, you aren't going to get it. So thank goodness we already had a stockpile of things here at the house because, we were really running short in the community of that. I know that I happened to go to speaking of Mother Earth, I happened to go to the Mother Earth News convention in Belton, Texas, which is the next county up north from us in Bell County. And every February they have the Mother Earth News expose, which is about a 4-day thing. And I got my new Mother Earth News magazine in the mail today. And then I got a notice from, what's the name of it? Anyhow, it's the TACDA, TACDA, the American Civil Defense Association. And I got a notice from them that I need to renew my subscription for my magazine from them. So got to do that as well. But anyhow, and so I had a booth. I was selling Thrive Life food at the Mother Earth convention. And this guy came by and said, "Hey, do you want some pandemic supplies?" And I said, "Sure." And so I bought two pallets of pandemic supplies. And then after, I think it was 2 pallets. Anyhow, I bought a whole bunch of pandemic supplies, and Helen was upset. I mean, I spent a lot of money, and we brought them back. In our fire department, the EMTs could not get gloves, masks, hand sanitizer, and these pandemic kits had them. So I sold basically everything at cost to the city of Round Rock so that they could have supplies for the EMTs and for the firemen because they couldn't get resupplied. So if it hadn't been for that, they would not have had anything. Okay. Well, if you need help, give me a call. Send me an email. I'll see if I can't help you with the local sources there that might be able to help you. Of course, you can always come here to Central Texas, and I can help you that way as well. You see GRC Homestead, Texas, welcome. Yeah, so the Tire Thumper is on Amazon for about $20. That's great. Mad Chick Acres, Mark, welcome. Good to see you, my friend. And okay, so I think that's pretty much it. Let me see. I think I'm caught up with that. Kaylin says, one day I delivered gloves and shoe covers to a local hospital. They were happy to get the little bit that I gave them. Oh, I tell you, during that time, they were happy to get anything and everything they could get. So chapter 1 really is not that long, but I think it's very important that we talk about it because number one, most important thing is going to be your mindset. There's a great poem, and it's called If by Rudyard Kipling. And it talks about if you can keep your mind about you while others are losing theirs, you'll be a man, if you remember that. And I think that's one of the things we have to really bear in mind is we have got to get a mindset that we are the 5%, okay? We are the ones who know what can happen, who know how to mitigate what can happen. We have done some preparation for it. Now, to be honest with you, I don't know of a single prepper who says, I have everything I will need. I know everything I need to know in case something happens. I am totally prepared. A real prepper is not going to say that because we're always finding holes. We're always finding new things that we need to do. But we are far ahead of the rest of the crowd. This is what's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, okay? So the Dunning-Kruger effect is a psychological effect that the less you know about something, the better you feel at being an expert in it. The more you know about something, the less you feel that you're an expert in it, okay? So the more you learn, the more you want to learn. And you say, I am deficient. I haven't learned as much as I need to, even though you're far ahead of everybody else. Whereas the people who know little about it basically think they're an expert in it because they don't know anything else that they need to know, Okay. They don't know what they don't know is the problem. So, you guys are going to be what everybody else is going to look for leadership, for sanity, for direction, for assistance, for suggestions, and everything else. So you are the leaders of the future. And so we have got to get that mindset for ourselves. How can we remain calm in the worst of circumstances? So just imagine a power failure. Start thinking now, what kinds of things will I not have available to me that I need to have, and how can I mitigate those? Can I get a small solar generator? Instead of having batteries for my flashlight, can I get candles? And start thinking about all the what ifs and how cans. And I think that's going to set you far and ahead above most of the other people in your vicinity. JRC Homestead, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that, and don't forget, he also has survivalblog.com and survivalblog.net. I think it's .net now. But anyhow, Survival Blog is a fantastic website. He has a new article every day, and there's back issues. You can go back and check. There's lists of lists. There's all kinds of fantastic stuff on his website. What a great treasure he is. And he also wrote 3 fiction books. I remember Patriots. I don't forget I forget the other 2 names. But he has three of the fiction books. And that's where I really started collecting Mercury dimes as a result of those books. So the scenario that he describes in the introduction here is basically a grid down, whether it be a CME or an EMP. Oh, by the way, there is an X-Class 8, and at level 8 CME left the sun this morning. It can arrive on Earth as early as tomorrow morning. So we do have another X-Class CME that's going to be hitting us. Wow, Holly, that is phenomenal. I think most people would be happy with 3 weeks. If you're at 6 months, then you are far ahead of the rest of them. The Latter-day Saints recommend 2 years. That's what I've been looking for, is 2 years, but 3 years is phenomenal. Wow. Let me see. Yes, he does, and that's fantastic, and it's not that expensive, to be honest with you. Okay, so here's some of the things that he sees are wrong in our society right now and can cause some issues. And this is not exhaustive, because I can add a couple more that we are currently in. Hyperinflationary depression, deflationary depression, terrorist, nuclear, biological, or chemical warfare, a nation state, nuclear, biological, or chemical warfare, Third World War, an oil embargo on the first world nations, martial law, invasion, climate change, major volcanic and or earthquake events, major asteroid or comet strike, not comic. Then we have, of course, the CMEs, the coronal mass ejections, the flares coming from the sun. We also have the polar shift that's currently ongoing on our Earth. We have all kinds of opportunities with the open borders now for terrorism at a level that we never thought would have been possible in the past. We've got the bugs that are going around, just unbelievable bugs, and then we've also got BRICS is undermining the U.S. as the global trade reserve currency, and so that's coming down. I don't know if you watch Gregory Mannarino. Let me get my voice clear here. A couple of the financial channels that I watch are predicting that the dollar is going to collapse here in the very near future, and that's going to set up gold at really going up there. As a matter of fact, I was going to go check that. They said to go check it. The price of gold today really skyrocketed. So let me go to goldsilver.com, which is what I use. And so gold spot price today is $2,357.80 an ounce, and silver spot price is $28.55 an ounce. Wow. So yeah, we're getting there. So anyhow, so start thinking about all those scenarios about what can happen, and then of course you've got the strife that's going on, another summer of love with all the students who are either pro or anti whatever in the Middle East, and the opportunities for that to turn into another summer of love. The threats are just phenomenal out there, and so there's enough threats for you to choose one and basically take a look at what you want to do for what he calls when the Schumer hits the fan, or WTSHTF. He talks about his storm of storms, so he says he sees that he foresees it going like this: a power failure, which is followed by municipal water supply failure, which will be followed by disruption of food distribution, which will be followed by collapse of law and order, followed by fires and full-scale looting, followed by the massive, what he calls golden horde, out-migration from major cities. So that's the people who have been living in the cities. There's nothing left in the cities, no power, no water, no sewage and sanitation. And so they're going to be migrating out of the cities and looking for places to stay. I would stay away from national parks and state parks. I think that's where the majority of them plan on going. And I would not want to be in one. So let me see here. Let me catch up, because it looks like Gil has one here. Looks pretty good. At least it's long. So that's the best way to go, Holly. I think that is the wisest decision. Whatever you can grow on your own is going to be fantastic, but also make sure you have a way of protecting what you're growing. So make sure you coordinate with other people. You'll feed them if they will make sure that nobody else takes what belongs to you. Let me see. Mark says gold and silver don't actually go up. The value of the dollar goes down. That's true. That is true. Holly Ivan says, I'm going for silver, coins and jewelry. Absolutely. The reason I like silver is because right now it's let's call it $28 an ounce in comparison to $2,800 an ounce. So that's 1/100th of the price. So for the same amount, $2,800 investment, I can either get 1 ounce of gold or 100 ounces of silver. Well, if either one goes up a penny, if gold goes up a penny, I've only got 1 ounce. I've made a penny. If silver, on the other hand, goes up a penny and I've got 100 ounces of it, I've gone up $1 in value. So that's why I prefer silver over gold, because there's going to be more of it. So the multiplier effect is that if it goes up a little bit incrementally, it's going to have a greater impact on your overall value because of the multiplier effect. So the first sergeant and I were gifted a year's worth of freeze-dried food from my mother after we got married. The staff sergeant, I guess that's the wife. We have added several years of wheat, rice, and canned food. We want 3 times what we have at least. Absolutely, Gil's right. So I strongly recommend. So I have this theory. This is Lee's theory, so you can take it for what it's worth. Take a timeline, okay? And let's say that this is a 25 or 30-year timeline. If you think that the Schumer is going to hit the fan somewhere down here, and you got a 15, 20-year wait for that to happen, I strongly recommend that you go to the LDS Provident Living Center, get number 10 cans of flour. Get these things: flour, rice. Let me see, what all do they have? I have my inventory right here. So the LDS Provident Living Center provides apple slices, beans, black beans, pinto beans, Great Northern, carrots. They used to have refried beans. They don't anymore. I have 21 cans of that. White flour, macaroni, non-fat dry milk, quick oats, regular oats, onions, pancake mix, potato flakes, rice, spaghetti bites, sugar, wheat, hard red wheat, hard white wheat, and then they've just added strawberries. So I have 3 cans of strawberries now. But that's for if you think you're going to have to store it for quite a while before you use it. Okay. And remember, you're going to have the duration of the event, whatever it is, and then how long you're going to need to have that afterwards. So, some people say maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years. You want it until you can become self-sufficient on what you're growing yourself. Okay. Now, on the other hand, right now, I think that the Schumer is going to hit the fan here in the next 6 months to a year. So if that's the case, I need to get as much as I can. So instead of spending it on prepackaged long-term storage items like number 10 cans of flour, I'm going to get twice the amount of flour by just getting it in a 5-pound bag at Walmart or at HEB or Kroger or someplace like that. Get twice the volume, and then I vacuum seal that. So what you want to do is get yourself a vacuum sealer, a Seal-A-Meal or whatever like that, vacuum seal it, freeze it. You want to freeze it for at least 72 hours. That's going to kill any of the larvae or anything else that may have been in there as far as bugs. So you've got it protected against the air. You've got it protected against the bugs. Bring it out of the freezer. Then you can put it into your inventory. A lot of people will take that and then they'll put it into a 5-gallon bucket. Then they'll put oxygen absorbers in the bucket, and then you've got double protection, because you can also, rats can get through that plastic seal on the that you're using for the vacuum sealer. So you want to have something a little bit harder for rodents to have a little bit more of a difficult time getting into it. Ideally, a 55-gallon drum that's metal would be perfect to keep the rats out, but not everybody can afford that. Although as your standard, I bought a 55-gallon drum, food grade drum from Azure Standard. I want to say it was right around $25. But anyhow, they have good stuff and good prices. There is a link in my in the description down below, because I am an affiliate of Azure Standard, so I need to be upfront about that. And but they have fantastic products at fantastic prices. As a matter of fact, they have so many prices. They have so many products that their site is overwhelming. I go to it maybe once a week, and then I will set things aside because I might be interested in, because they just have so much. It's like walking through a normal grocery store. So they talk about he talks about the thin veneer. Vacation destinations like Lake Tahoe, Lake Arrowhead, Squaw Valley, California, Prescott, Sedona, Arizona, Hot Springs, Arkansas, Vail, Steamboat Springs, Colorado, other various rural ski spas, Great Lakes and coastal resort areas, fishing centers. Okay, so if they rent boats out to go fishing or anything like that, or camping spots or anything like that, those are avoid spaces. Stay away from those, because everybody else is going to be going there. So the other thing that they're going to be looking for is they want to go where they're growing food. So they're going to go out into the farms in the rural areas. So he says the linchpin is the power grid. Most towns and cities will be without municipal utility drinking water, which is absolutely true. So make sure you have a plan for drinking water. It's also going to take down the sewage systems. We saw that back up in the Superdome in New Orleans, and all kinds of diseases as far as that's concerned. So you want to make sure you're protected against any human waste diseases that might be spread, cholera, dysentery, cryptosporidiosis, all those other types of things. Make sure you also have a way to remove those from potential drinking water. So, and that can be several different things. That can include such things as simple as aquatabs, which are just a tablet you throw into your water, and it's going to kill any bacteria or any larvae or any virus that's in your water. The water filtration system that I have is a gravity fed. It looks just like a Berkey. It's a gravity fed system. Goes through a 0.01 ceramic filter, 0.01 micron ceramic filter, and then it has a UV light that's battery operated as it comes out through the spigot, so that you're getting double viral and bacterial removal. Virtually all communications are going to go down, so make sure you have plans for communications, whether that be walkie-talkies. Your cell phone is not going to work. If for those of you who are planning on getting your ham licenses and think that ham is the Baofeng or the Yaesu YE6, those are duplex systems. That means they transmit and receive on different frequencies. Now, the way they do that is you set in what's called an offset. So you're transmitting and then you're receiving on an offset, which is just off of that frequency, maybe 0.2 megahertz. And so that means that you're transmitting and receiving on different frequencies. Well, that does not work in simplex. So that only works with the repeater. So once the repeaters go down and you want to talk to another walkie-talkie, you're going to be operating simplex mode, which means you'll both be on the same frequency all the time. So you're going to have to reprogram your walkie-talkie, or that Yaesu or Baofeng, to where it's going to operate in simplex mode, where you're both listening and transmitting on the same frequency. Okay. So your ham, your perception of ham may not be what it actually is. So make sure you check into that. I would say check into GMRS or FRS radios. I would also say, the good old-fashioned CB radio is not a bad deal either. That's going to get you 12 to 15 miles. So you're going to be able to communicate with most of your neighbors in a standard, non-mountainous, non-intervening canyon type of an area. There will be no power for kidney dialysis machines. Now, remember we did our nonfiction book here just before Christmas, was Jonathan Hollerman's book, Grid Down. And this is what he told Congress. Okay, so this is, Mr. Rawles said this, 18 years ago. Jonathan Hollerman told Congress just 2 years ago, there will be no power for kidney dialysis machines, ventilators for respiratory patients, no resupply of oxygen bottles for people with chronic lung conditions, and no resupply of medications for people who are medication dependent. Anyone with a chronic health problem is going to have serious problems. Most heaters won't work, with fans won't work, even if you can bypass the thermostats. Pellet stoves won't work at all. Natural gas service will be disrupted unless you're really close to a wellhead. There will be no 911 to call, no backup, no cavalry coming over the hill, nobody in white hats. And sanitation will be extremely problematic, especially in large towns or in cities. Virtually everyone will be forced to draw water from open sources. Meanwhile, their neighbors will be inadvertently fouling those very same water sources. With the grid down and city water disrupted, toilets won't flush, and most urbanites and suburbanites will not dig outhouses or garbage pits or know how to dispose of human waste. A grid down condition could be a public health nightmare within a week in most large metropolitan areas. So, I mean, just some things that you need to be concerned about. So Devil Dog Preppers got a year's worth, and Kaylin Strange says that she's got some places that she can go with her friends. She's got some seeds to grow. Hopefully you have luck with that. So here's what happened. This is my 5th year growing tomatoes, and they had this really weird rot at the bottom of the tomato. And even when we pulled it early and turned it upside down, the rot would continue and be on the bottom however we laid that tomato, it would rot on the bottom. So we did all kinds of research, and we found out that it was a calcium deficiency in our tomato plants. So I bought this calcium spray off of Amazon, and it said to spray the leaves of all your tomato plants. So I sprayed my leaves. Now I've got great tomatoes, but no leaves. It killed all the leaves. So, I've been doing this for 5 years. I'm still learning. And I think if you talk to most gardeners, it's not something you can easily learn to do overnight. I've got 1 out of 3 of my potato barrels that is now ready for harvesting. The other 2 aren't yet. But how do you tell when it's time to harvest your potatoes? How do you know when it's time to start your seedlings for strawberries? I planted stuff that never grew, and the reason was because I planted it at the wrong time. So you learn all this stuff through mistakes and not in gardening. And so that's one of the things I have to admit is I'm a poor gardener, but I am doing a little bit better every year. The question is, will I be doing good enough when the time comes that it's going to really count? And so. That's going to be problematic. So I hope there's some good neighbors who are great gardeners. I hope I can count on. Yes, absolutely. There's Eric from Epic Gardening. So the name of the channel is Epic Gardening. His name is Eric, and he lives in San Diego. And he did an experiment, and he talked about he wanted to grow wheat in his backyard. To see how long that wheat would last him in a grid down situation. So he had a 20 by 40 patch of wheat in his backyard. He grew it all year. He thrashed it. He pulverized it, made it into flour. And with that flour, he was able to make 1.5 loaves of bread. So a 20 by 40 plot in your backyard full of wheat will get you 1.5 loaves of bread. Okay. So I think a lot of people's perceptions about gardening are it is not going to keep you alive if you aren't doing it on a larger scale. Okay. That you know, my 3 buckets of tomatoes, my 3 buckets of potatoes, my 2 buckets of strawberries, that is not enough to keep me alive. I'll be honest with you. So I really need to step that up and become better at everything. So Phylloxerus is a little bit further north. So he seeded his garden this last weekend. We're down here, way down south. We are already in the harvesting. So typically, for example, we'll get 3 to 4 cuttings of grass for hay and alfalfa. Most other places will be lucky if they get 2. Silver is a bargain right now. 4-to-1 gold to silver ratio and is the norm. Currently is 72-to-1. You're absolutely right, Mark. Absolutely right. I would say, well, see, I'm kind of a purist. Silver is a money, so it's not for barter; it's for purchase. Whereas barter is things that are not fungible. Okay, there's 6 categories for defining money, and silver and gold fit both of those, as does our currency. Although currency is not based on anything intrinsic; it's all fiat. However, I agree. Silver is better for trade in a post-apocalyptic world, simply because you want smaller denominations. Same thing. If you're going to keep cash, I would not have anything in my cash that is greater than a $20 bill. And I would say the vast majority of what you store in cash should be 1, 5s, and 10s. Even a 20 should be rare. Let me see. Amen, Devil Dog. Yes, you want to be able to use something in multiple ways and multiple. You want it to be multifunctional. How's that? That's a better way to describe that. So yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that. So discussions about the value of gold and where it is. And yeah, remember that a $5 gold piece used to be that the weight of the coin the pre-1964. So 10 dimes had the same silver content as a Morgan silver dollar. 2 half-dollars had the same silver content, weight, and everything else as a Morgan silver dollar. 4 quarters. So they all had, when you multiplied out the weight and everything else, they all consistently broke out as being $1 worth of silver. At that weight, which was at that time about 0.8 ounces. So that would be, let me see, 0.8 ounces would be about 25 grams of silver, because there's 31.1 grams of silver to the ounce. Okay, so chains of supply, lengthy and fragile. We talked about that. Just how Rawlesian are you? So he talks about his history. He's got a bachelor's degree in journalism, minors in history, military science, and military history. Former U.S. Army military intelligence officer, where I worked at both the tactical and strategic levels. And as an intelligence officer, I monitored the daily global geopolitical situation very closely. I was a specialist. I specialized on the Soviet Union. So I didn't have the wide knowledge that he did, because he was a generalist, whereas I was a specialist. Let me see. So lightly populated areas are safer than high density areas. Show restraint, but always have recourse to use lethal aid. Things are going to get bad. They are going to get really bad, and people are going to get desperate. I cannot think of anything that's going to be more dangerous to you than a parent who is watching their child starve and you won't share your food with them to feed their child or keep their child alive. That, in my opinion, is the scariest of all situations, is a desperate parent. And so, you've got to be able to protect what you have, but at the same time, we also have to maintain our sense of dignity as a human being and share what we can without necessarily exposing ourselves or setting ourselves up for failure, but share what you can with others. So one of the best things to do that, and you'll hear this quite often referred to also by Selko Begovic, and their strength in numbers. Don't think you can do this alone. Remember, at the end of every one of my lives, I always tell you, we're in this together so we can come out the other side together. It's that together that is the key. We have got to do this together. We can't do it as individuals. And, even here in my neighborhood, we've only got 3 or 4 families. I put out a clarion call for 3 or 4 years. Guys, we need to make plans. And now we are so close to SHTF, I'm not going to do that anymore, because now all that's going to do is attract people to come to my house who haven't prepared and who are desperate. And I don't want to do that because I'm afraid of the situation it'll put them in. I'm afraid of the situation it'll put me in. So there are moral absolutes, okay? And you have to determine what those moral absolutes are. Mine are religious, theologically based. And so, what are your absolutes morally? How far are you willing to go to protect your family and your food supply or whatever? I would say that one of the things that if you are of the persuasion where you don't think that the other gender is equal to you and that the two of you are going to be a matched pair in surviving this, then you have no place in preparedness. If you think that another person is not as good as you because they are of a different race, national origin, background, or something else, then you have no place in preparedness, because we are in this together. And that's regardless of race, religion, color, creed, national origin, skin color, race, you name it. All those things have got to go out the back door, because what we are concerned about is survival. And we need to take care of each other. And, if you check down in the notes down below, the very first quote you're going to see is a quote from Martin Luther King. He says, we have got to find a way to do this together. We can't do it as individuals, and we certainly can't do it if we are contentious with each other. So we've got to find a way to get together and survive this together. Skills beat gadgets, and practically beats style. So, whatever you can do, if you have a choice between buying an item or learning how to use that item, learn how to use it. You might be able to find one in a post-apocalyptic world, but if you find the item in a post-apocalyptic world and you don't know how to use it, it's not going to do you any good. Tangibles trump concepts. You will hear me say quite often, and as a matter of fact, Maggie, Aussie Prep, and I were having this discussion earlier today, that I would much rather listen to what Selko Begovic writes about his year in hell during the Bosnian conflict. I would much rather listen to what Firfal Aguirre says about his survival during the Argentinian collapse of the Bolivar. I would much rather listen to what Venezuela Prepper says about the communist takeover of Venezuela and how he got out and how he survived that. These are people who have been there, done that. I think their experience, their knowledge, their ability to survive it is far, far more valuable than anybody's theoreticals. So, and Mr. Rawles kind of, trumps that. He says, that tangibles, the people who have been there, beats concepts anytime, any day. Governments tend to expand their power to the point that they do harm. That's what Reagan told us, that I'm from the government. I'm here to help you. They're some of the worst words you can ever hear. Now then, there's a trite expression that we've kind of come up with in preparedness world that absolutely means nothing. It says 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So if 2 is 1, A equals B, and B is none, B equals 0, then A equals 0, right? A equals B, B equals C, then A equals C. That's that old algebra 1. that you thought you'd never use after you got done with high school algebra. Well, that really doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's a nice trite expression. I think the way that Mr. Rawles puts it is more significant. It says there's value in redundancy. It's best to have a backup, okay, for anything that you do. And having a deep larder or a deep supply cache is important as well. Tools without training are useless. Old technologies are appropriate technologies. I just put one out yesterday, I think it was. Maybe it was the day before. Look for manual operated tools to replace a lot of your battery or electric powered tools. Like the one I show is a hand drill versus a Black & Decker drill. It's going to be important that you have those. So the old technology is what we'll be returning back to. Charity is a moral imperative. Help people when you can, how you can. Buy life assurance instead of insurance. So plan for the future. Exploit force multipliers. So the person who has night vision devices is going to rule in a post-apocalyptic world, guaranteed. Invest in sweat equity, build it yourself, do it yourself, learn it yourself. Choose your friends wisely is probably one of the best pieces of advice there is. Associate yourself with skilled doers, not talkers. You can't learn every skill yourself. Assemble a team that includes members with medical knowledge, tactical skills, electronics experience, and traditional practical skills. So look for people who are not like you. You have your strengths, they have their strengths. See if you can't build it so that all the areas that you need covered are covered, and not that you're building duplicity within the strengths. Although you might want to have duplicity once you get all the strengths covered. Always have a plan B and a plan C. Be frugal. Some things are worth fighting for. The best defense is to live at your retreat year-round. And the last one is nothing happens by chance. That basically you are going to create your own future. So the opportunities that are there, the luck that you have is going to be determined by what you're doing now to prepare yourself available to receive that luck in the future. If you don't prepare yourself for it now, the luck will never happen, okay? So that's the end of chapter 1. Let me see where we are. Holly Ivan says pressure canned meats can last a long time. Check your jars every month. Yes, check your entire rotation every month. I had a problem with some peaches rusting through my cans. We just used up some tomato paste the other day. I was using the tubes. I bought the Italian tubes of tomato paste, and we went through 3 or 4 of those before we found one that was acceptable when we were making our hamburger and tomato. You put it on a bun. Oh, anyhow, we went through a whole bunch of tomato sauce, tomato paste before we found something. So now we have to replace that. I have to restock the pantry. Now everybody knows you've got 2 pantries, right? You've got the long-term pantry that's over there. We've got the food pantry, the working pantry here. So what we do is we take something out of the working pantry, then we replace it with something out of the long-term storage so that we're rotating it and putting it into our food pantry. And then you go out and you buy a replacement for what you took out of your long-term pantry once you get it stocked up. And that's where we are now, is as we pull things out of the long-term pantry, that's what you're seeing in my weekly hauls, is I'm replacing things because we just don't have any room left to put anything new. So JRC Homestead says that they're looking to extending meals with potatoes and grains, absolutely, and pastas. So protein is going to be an issue, yes. So most people are looking for the beans to be their protein source. There's all kinds of fantastic canned meats, chili, tuna, salmon. Just, it's pretty much usually in the same area. One of the things I found is Campbell's soup has chili mac. And it actually has ground beef in it. So, and it's in the soup area, it's in the soup aisle. So I try to pick up one of those big chunky chili mac cans almost every time I go shopping here recently. And I think that's going to be a great one to have as well. Devil Dog Pepper. Buy wheat beers is so much better than nutrition than store-bought stuff. 50-pound bag from Azure Standard is $30 soft white wheat. That is true if you have a mill. I don't have a mill. I'm not willing to invest in one right now, and I wouldn't have anywhere to put it up. So I'm going the other route, which is for pre-processed flour. I wish I had started with a mill in berries a long time ago. You're absolutely right. That would have been a far better way to do it, but I didn't, and so I'm where I am now. I might at some point in the future, I may put out Lee's 150,000 greatest prepping mistakes, and that's going to be up there in the top 50. I can guarantee you that. That having wheat berries is probably a better way to go. And that's little and prepper that you're getting into Lee's personal concept about barter. And so don't try to guess what other people are going to want or need. Remember, only 5% of us are prepping. And maybe that's going up now with people becoming more aware. That means that 95% of the population has nothing. So that's who you're going to be trading with, the people who have nothing. So you've got something that you think they want or need, but they don't have anything to trade for it. So don't try to guess what they're going to want or need. Buy what you want or need, because I guarantee you 95% of the people are going to say, that's neat. I need that. I want that, regardless what it is you have. And I think the number one common thing everybody's going to be looking for is food. So as long as you're stocking up on food, that's going to be the currency of the future. That's going to be the value proposition. Food and water are going to be the two things you're going to be most concerned with. So our monthly pickup is next Thursday, a week from Thursday. Yeah, a week from Thursday. And the order for this month already went in. There is a company, and I checked into them probably 10, 12 years ago. I don't even know if they're still in business. The guy was out of Phoenix, Arizona, but his whole thing was training people to make edible front yard agriculture. So how can you make your front yard look attractive, but at the same time, everything in your front yard is going to be edible? And so I think the name of this company was Edible Landscapes. But anyhow, and I thought that was a great concept. I thought that was a great idea, especially if nobody else knows that it's edible, because they'll be coming over for sure. So Kaylin says that her brother has her late dad's boat on property in Arkansas, not too far from the lake, which is great. Arkansas is fantastic. And up in the mountains there is where there's a lot of preppers up in that area. And it's conducive to growing crops. It's conducive to animals and wildlife and husbandry. So I think, and a lot of great wildlife as well as fishing. So yeah, I think that's a great place to go to. Theoxorus is constantly doing to his Azure Standard order what we all do to our bug out bags, constantly upgrading and changing and everything else. Ken says that the great 500-year flood in 1993 screwed up their water and sewage systems for over a month. Yes, be prepared for that. Let's learn from that. I think I've told everybody here in 1997, we had a family member who was one of the first confirmed cases of cryptosporidiosis when lightning struck our sewage pumping system. And so all of our sewage collected, it was gravity fed down to a collection point. Then it had an electric powered pump that pumped it up over a hill, and then it gravity fed down into the greater city of Austin sewage system. Well, that pump was hit by lightning. So all that sewage was collecting at that pump, and it backed up. It got into Brushy Creek, and then Brushy Creek, our wellhead was, about a quarter of a mile upstream from where the sewage dump was. But what we didn't know was there was a crack in the karst, and it was directly feeding that raw sewage down to our wellhead. So our drinking water had raw sewage in it. And so we had and you can look it up on YouTube or on Google. It's the Great Cryptosporidiosis Outbreak of Brushy Creek MUD, Municipal Utility District of 1997. I think there were over 100 people became ill with cryptosporidiosis. So I am one who is extremely concerned. Because of that, I'm now the poop guy on YouTube as far as preppers. I am extremely concerned about how we handle human waste and trash in a post-apocalyptic world, because those are going to be killers. We're going to get more disease, more rodents, more infestation by not handling our human waste as well as our trash properly than anything else, and how it gets into our drinking water supply. So making sure that we have good, clean water. That's why I have that system that not only is 0.01 microns as far as filtration, but it also has the UV at the end to get rid of any protozoa or amoeba or any bacteria or anything like that. I kind of get excited talking about that nowadays, ever since 1997. Let me see. So if Phylloxera approaches firewood the same way, I try to, let me get it there, keep 2 winters worth on it. Absolutely. And most people don't realize that you have to age it for 6 months after you cut it down, or else you're going to have nothing but basically smoke. So you want to cure it, is what it's called, in a dry place. So you want to cover that and make sure that it's covered and you don't get it wet from the rain and snow and everything else. But you want to cure your wood after you've cut it down for at least 6 months before you burn it in your fireplace. Amen, Phylloxera. I think there's going to be an awful lot of tough decisions that have to be made. Amen. Caitlin says to add eggshells to the tomato soil, which is great, because we are having, we've already planned our dinner for tomorrow night. It's going to be bacon and scrambled eggs and toast and jelly and all that kinds of stuff. So we will have plenty of eggshells. So I'll have Helen save those, and we'll crush those up and put them in the tomatoes tomorrow. Thank you for that tip. I appreciate that. Yes, silver coins especially, and that's where they came up with the whole idea behind colloidal silver. So yes, silver supposedly does some purification effects when it's in the water system. Hello, Rebecca. Welcome, and I hope John's sitting there with you as typically as normal. Glad to see the two of you. I was talking about my shortcomings in your expertise, which is growing a good crop and gardening and all that kinds of stuff. So we sure could have used your expertise and knowledge here a little bit earlier. But glad you're here with us now. Welcome to both of you. Yeah, and I think most people will. Blossom end rot, that's what it's called. Thank you, Diana. So yeah, it's blossom end rot's what we had. It's calcium deficiency supposedly, but when I sprayed the spray on it, it killed all the leaves. When Helen looked it up, it said in a 1 gallon bucket, put 6 Tums, crush them up, dilute them, and that gets poured into the soil and not necessarily onto the leaves, if I remember correctly. So there's some things you do for the leaves, it gets absorbed through the leaves, and others that gets absorbed through the soil. So I think, in the future, we'll probably go through some sort of soil calcium enrichment other than what we did. Oh, okay. Thank you, Maggie. I did not know that. Like I said, I'm a novice gardener. This is my 5th year, and it's just I'm not that good yet. Oh, so Phylloxera has found epic gardening. All right, I like him. I like Eric. He is good. Yes, and that's the same thing Selco talks about. So if you look, I have a whole bunch of Bic lighters. I have a whole bunch of matches. I probably have an entire tub full of matches. And then I'm really getting into and prepping with Sarge. Just advertised or did a video on an electric arc lighter, and I have 2 of those as well. And you can solar recharge those, which is great. And the arc is even a higher temperature than a flame. But if you'll remember, I also say Get yourself some Zippo lighters and Zippo lighter fluid. And that's just a phenomenal windproof lighter that's going to be worth its weight in gold, basically. So I probably have 5 kits that I've ordered off of Amazon. I think it's $10 or $12 a kit. So it's a can of lighter fluid, some flints, and then the lighter. Still in the original packaging. They're just sitting in my garage, waiting to be given out if necessary for somebody who needs to start a fire. So what Eric did, Epic Gardening, was he had a 20 by 40, so that's 800 square feet of wheat, and that was only enough to produce 1.5 loaves of bread. Hill Summit Homestead, Jack from Australia, welcome. Good to see you, mate. No, I took it back out to the garage. I was going to show you my kangaroo from when the Fleet Battle Staff exercise that was done. But anyhow, let me see here. So GRC Homestead, Texas says our new garden area has 20 raised beds, and we've added more fruit trees, grapes, and berries. So I've added grapes this year. I've added blackberries. I've tried to container grow blackberries, but they don't do too well. Blackberries prefer an acidic soil. So far, I planted them in the earth rather than in a bucket. And so far, both my grapes and my blackberries are doing well. Let's knock on wood here because I've lost, in the last 5 years, I've lost blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. So I'm trying to take them out of containers and put them in the earth and see how that does. Yes, canned potatoes. And don't forget, you can also get instant potatoes, instant mashed potatoes. And those are going to do good. You also have the dehydrated shredded potatoes. Ore-Ida makes those, and they're in like the little milk carton type things. Those are great as well. Those will keep for a long time. And you can turn those into all different kinds of things. But hash browns is the most common thing you're going to have with those. Then you can also vacuum seal the potatoes au gratin. And what's the other one that's kind of like potatoes au gratin? It's the, there's 2 different kinds of boxed cheesy tomatoes. And those are great. Vacuum seal those before you store them, though. Okay. Well, I think that we're getting close to the end of time, 1 hour and 10 minutes. My gosh, we're over. So I'm going to let you all go through the chat. You've done such a great job. Thank you for being kind, polite, and respectful to each other. I really, really appreciate that. Gosh, I can't believe such great people in chat. And thank you for your loyalty, and thank you for watching. Next week, we're going to be talking about Chapter 2 in this book. So Chapter 2, the subject is going to be priorities, your list of lists. I have a feeling, something tells me, we may not be able to make it all the way through Chapter 2 in one sitting. So let's just plan right now on Chapter 2. Read the whole chapter. Get the book. It'll be in the comments down below. I tell you, I think the book's $15. I'm going to make 30 cents off of it. Now, remember the changes. So now 25% goes to Salvation Army. 25% goes to the county food bank called the Caring Place. 25% goes to St. Vincent de Paul, which is basically Catholic charities. And then 25% is set aside for gifts for all of you when we reach certain milestones. So we're getting close to 6,000 subscribers. When we get to the 10,000 point, I hope to have a whole bunch of fantastic presents for everybody. So remember that we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, not just here, but as you go about. Remember, a smile is infectious. When you smile at somebody or give them a break, give them a break in traffic. Let them in. And it'll shock them. If you give somebody a break, it's going to shock them. They won't know what to do. So what they do is they react and let somebody else in. And if we can spread kindness and a smile and make somebody's day, just think, if we can make one person's day better, just think how we've just made the world a better place. So as we are told by Aaron, and Aaron was told to bless the priest this way: the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and grant you peace. So remember, and if you get a chance, look up Rudyard Kipling's poem, If. And I think that that's going to be the model of who you will be because you are prepared in a post-apocalyptic world. So remember, we're going to get through this together. Take care, everybody. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Have a great evening. Thank you for the outstanding support and comments in the chat for this evening. Everybody, please stay safe and watch out for that CME that'll be hitting us tomorrow or the day after. Bye-bye.